All right, let's talk about being humiliated within the church. Some people seem to think of being used as a sermon illustration by the pastor as some sort of rite of passage, that somehow that must mean you're doing enough to be noticed, or like you're finally part of the club since people are talking about you in that way, or at that particular level. When sometimes it can be perceived by some as some kind of humiliation ritual, as again, some sort of rite of passage, but in a very different context, in a very different light. As if somehow airing out your own dirty laundry or your own struggles in front of everybody, you'll find some kind of healing from it, or like you'll be benefiting the rest of the body in some way by letting the pastor misrepresent you in front of everybody in any way that he wants to make his own point. Almost 2 years ago now, that is exactly what happened to me. I was going through a really bad breakup and I was in a very not good place. And I confided in my pastor, as any young Christian man should be able to anyway. And frankly, I told him everything about how the mixed feelings I was having and about how some of the behavior that I was seeing on the other end of it was just not connecting with me very well. I was in a very bad place. It was not a good time. It was only a matter of a few weeks later that I hear him setting up this story about this worship leader in our congregation who has a 30-minute commute from his hometown to ours right here. He was clearly talking about me. Everybody knew it. He did everything short of calling me out by name to make it clear that he was talking about me, and essentially misrepresents the entire situation by suggesting that the only reason that I ever took an interest in that girl to begin with is because she was young and hot, which was never part of the conversation that we had, so thanks for that. Setting me up to look like some kind of pig, and even suggesting that she wasn't a Christian, which isn't true. Something about being unequally yoked, or I can't even remember at this point what he was talking about. And it doesn't really matter because he's telling a fake story about real people. You can't do that. He and I did wind up sitting down and talking through it, and we were able to hash it out, and we had a pretty okay relationship after that. Which begs the question to some people probably,
then why are you bringing this up again?
I wouldn't feel obligated to if it didn't happen again much more recently. I had dinner one day with this same pastor, his wife, and my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife. Hello. We were talking about something that she and I were walking through, or that I guess specifically was walking through, and a falling out that I had with another leader where I wound up getting booted from the ministry that I was a part of for no other reason except that I offended the person of this youth pastor. And I use the word pastor in that context very loosely. It's another conversation for another time. And essentially what he had to say to me boiled down to, you just gotta learn to forgive. Asking the question, what is it gonna take for you to not be mad about this anymore? Which, at this point, I feel like I have a better idea of what the answer to that would be. But I would feel more comfortable giving that to him had he not gotten on his blog the very next day and written all about the conversation that we had. And there's no way he could possibly deny that it was about the conversation he and I had. To which I would simply ask him, where was this tone and where was this choice of words when I was sitting right across from you? Someday when we've grown up a little, when we can take correction as a blessing instead of an offense, we'll start to see it. The pettiness, the pride, the grudges, they were never worth the wait. That's when healing begins. Now let's be clear about something. Healing looks different for everybody. When they walk through some form of trauma or offense, it's gonna look different. It's not gonna look the same for everybody. Some people heal loudly, some people heal quietly. Some people choose to walk through it with a very select few, with a mass group of people, or entirely on their own. But if you're gonna insist on giving tips to people about how to pursue healing, you should probably understand fully the situation that they're in, which to my knowledge, you don't actually have the full knowledge of what happened. If you really want that, get at me. I'll walk you through it all. Especially because you're gonna go as far as to impersonate an icon of the faith and write a letter in the spirit of the Apostle Paul And there is not a hint of scripture in any of this, whether it's in your modern interpretation of a letter from Paul that you wrote on his behalf, or in the letter itself. But I will quote scripture because, frankly, I don't have to guess what he would have said. I can just go based on what he's already said. 1 Corinthians 5, starting in verse 11. But now I am writing to you that you must not associate with anyone who claims to be a brother or sister, but is sexually immoral or greedy, an idolater or slanderer, a drunkard or swindler. Do not even eat with such people. What business is it of mine to judge those outside the church? Are you not to judge those inside? God will judge those outside. Expel the wicked person from among you. That is a reference to Deuteronomy. It's amazing how, and this is a trend across all the letters that Paul wrote, it was always about calling out the church where it's tripping, calling out sin, not enabling it, to humiliate brothers and sisters that commit afflictions against the body instead of justifying them. But that seems to be the only thing you're interested in doing, because the person that afflicted me just so happens to be one of your friends, and just so happened at the time to carry the title of pastor. And this breaks my heart to even have to think about, because frankly, this is a person that I consider to be like a second father to me. And I even have friends that grew up around him and have nothing but praises to sing over him. But in hindsight, I can't act like there wasn't a trend there, or like something was very off. And I can only assume that this has happened far more frequently at the expense of other people as well. My only mission in bringing this up is to empower other people to tell their stories and about how this has happened to them. Because there's this unspoken rule within church communities that if you're part of this elite inner circle, then nobody can say squat about you. And that's just simply not true. The stigma's gotta end. And it's only gonna happen if people finally feel empowered enough to share their stories. So this is me taking a step in that direction. Now, concerning this person, because I know he knows who he is. If you feel some type of way about this, first of all, I don't care. Second of all, I forgive you.
Now I know I ain't perfect, but don't say you made a mistake and did it all on purpose. Though y'all haters for saying what I did just wasn't worth it. Don't try to steal me on the bogus, see y'all on purchase.